introduce ourselves to SketchUp now. So, we're going to look at our Start button again and type SketchUp Pro 21. That app should pop up for you. We're going to click on that. All right, so we have this screen, and I'm going to click on architectural inches. Mine's going to look slightly different than yours. Okay. I'm going to go the following items as we are introduced to SketchUp. So alongside of me verbalizing and doing this with you, there's a recap on the right-hand side. All right. So you probably don't have all the toolbars that I have, correct? Okay. Yes and no. All right. What we're going to do is work with only 2 necessary toolbars today. So up in the top of your screen, you have some like clear gray space in the ribbon of SketchUp. You're going to right click. Mine have a lot of checks. Actually, all we need today are the view checked, which is all the way at the bottom. Check views, and that brings up the house looking icon. And then the large tool set. Click that one. Okay. So I like to bank my tools, and I do that by just grabbing the top of the folder and hovering to the left side. I can bank it on the left side, or grabbing that folder and putting it in the top ribbon of my application. The first time you're in a 3D world, why don't we just move around this woman in yellow? So with the scroll button, just zoom in and out. So scrolling up and down, right? Pretty common to other programs. Now let's move around the lady. If you touch the scroll, like compress it, like you're clicking it, it allows you to kind of hold it down and rotate around. Sometimes we can get a little lost. So if I want to find my way back to this starting point, that's why I use that Views tab with the house looking icons. We're going to start just to show an example of how we find ourselves back at this view. We're going to draw a rectangle. So I like keyboard shortcut commands. If I just type R, it gives me the rectangle command. If you're more of a button person, it's highlighted now that you've touched R on the left-hand side, right? Draw a rectangle by clicking once, dragging it across the page, and clicking again. If your rectangle accidentally drew in the vertical dimension, don't worry. Everybody have a rectangle? So day 1 of Defund 1, we drew cube. That's what we're going to do in here too. I'm going to use the tool that's called push-pull, right? So maybe it starts with a P. That would make sense, right? All right, so let's hit P. Here's the other thing to note. If the command's going to keep drawing if you're in it. If you want to get out of the command, hit spacebar twice or click off into space in SketchUp. And then hit P. Now we get that box with the red arrow. Also, you can see where the button is on the left. I'm just going to hover over the face and click once and drag the volume up. Your square or your rectangle drew in the vertical dimension, you can push-pull that face too. You only need one cube right now. All right. So SketchUp is made of lines and planes. So let's just draw a line. What do you think that starts with? The keyboard shortcut command? L. L. Okay. It also looks like the pencil if you're a more visual person. So just draw a couple lines. They can connect. If you connect the volumes, they create faces. Yeah. So if you click and hold down the scroll button, oh, like pan? Yeah. Let me see. It's this hand, but I didn't tell you to put that toolbar on. Yeah. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, the hand pans. Does that help? Yeah. Okay. And I don't know what the keyboard for that is. We can look it up. If I want to draw on vertical elements, I always like to draw a cube because to me it's to draw a line on the surface of something. Were you all able to draw lines on the ground? Okay. Let's hit spacebar twice now. Click off into space and hit L for line again. I want you to draw a triangle on the face, a face of your cube. And you'll see that SketchUp starts to tell you on face, right? So if I draw a triangle, I can then kind of click off spacebar, click into space, and then select the face of that triangle alone. Why don't we try to push-pull that triangle? Do you remember what the keyboard is, man? All right. All I'm doing is hitting P, pulling that piece out. I'm going to stop there. Does anyone want me to redo any of those steps? Okay, I'll stop there. All right, let's do a couple different ways of selecting a volume. I find if lines are touching one another, this will work. I find triple clicking the easiest way. So if I want to grab the triangle projection, the cube, all I have to do is just triple click it fast. That work? Great. Same keyboard shortcut commands we used for files. Control C as in cats, Control V as in Victor. Let's do that. Control C. All right. So let's triple click. Let's see. What do we want to do next? Let's move something. All right. So to move something, I have to tell the computer what it is I want to move. Let's triple click one of those cube triangle projections. And I'm going to tell it to M, move. All right, we have this arrow. And notice that when I hover around corners and edges, that it tells me where the midpoint on a line is or the end point. This is so helpful because the reason we're drafting is so that we can produce technical drawings, give it to a contractor so that something can be physically built. So we need to be pretty technical about where we're drawing lines here. So these are called snaps. So SketchUp knows snaps to a center or a midpoint. That's important to an architect, or an endpoint. Okay, so I'm going to click an endpoint. And notice that this thing is moving anywhere that my cursor moves. So let's say I want this to move only in the Z direction. I just use the up arrow on my keyboard and it constrains it to a positive or negative. Same thing if I hit a left arrow, it's on the Y axis, or the right arrow. Okay, so I think that's really helpful. The space bar twice. Let's just draw a line on the edge of it. I'm just going to L for line, and I'm going to hit an endpoint or touch an endpoint. I can do that same thing with the pencil. So if I hit the up arrow, it only draws a line in one direction. This is very helpful. Why don't you try to draw a triangle using these arrow keys on the edge of your volume like that? Follow me. I have a keyboard shortcut command, unfortunately, but it's just below the push-pull button. It's a red curving arrow with a brown circular item around it. So when you hover over it, it says follow me. All right, I'm going to click that. And I'm going to hover over my new triangle. And I'm going to click that triangle once. And then I see all of a sudden that I can pull my cursor around the whole volume again. But eventually you might want to draw crown molding. All right, we have our base rectangle. And we're going to use offset, which is a button just below the follow me. So let's click offset. I'm going to hover over the rectangle face I just made, touch the face once, and then I just pull my cursor in and out, and I click again. And I'm still in the command because I haven't exited it. So I just click a face again, and I can make many layers of offsets. Is that working? And then I used push-pull, that's the P command, and I hover over a surface again. I can kind of push and pull these things as I wish. All right, so let's zoom in on that first cube with the triangle face popping out. Let's say I want to create an opening in this cube instead of this projection. I can use the same push-pull. So to get out of all my commands, spacebar, escape, click into space. I'm going to hit P for push-pull, grab that triangle extrusion. I'm going to click once, but I'm not going to let up on that. Click, and I'm going to pull my cursor so that the snap is on that back edge. Okay? And I can see through that object as a window. I'm going to make sure that works for everybody.